The rain had been falling for 3 hours straight. Dr. Alex Rodriguez pulled his jacket tighter as he stepped out of the New Terra Medical Center. His shift had lasted 16 hours, and every muscle in his body ached. The emergency room had been packed with patients from 3 different worlds, and he had barely had time to grab a quick sandwich as Alex walked through the empty streets. His footsteps echoed off the tall buildings around him. The medical district was always quiet. At this hour, most people were home with their families, enjoying dinner or watching the evening news. But Alex had no one waiting for him. His small apartment would be dark and cold. Just like every other night, the street lights cast long shadows between the buildings. That's when Alex noticed something moving in the darkness. At first, he thought it might be a stray animal. But as he got closer, he realized it was a person sitting on the ground. She was clearly not human. Her skin had a strange glow to it, like moonlight on water. Her arms and legs were longer than a human's, and she was much thinner than anyone should be. She wore old, torn clothes that looked like they hadn't been washed in weeks. The woman was holding a small metal cup in her hands. She was shaking, not just from the cold rain, but from something deeper. Alex could see the fear in her large, purple eyes when she looked up at him on her home planet. Zeta had been someone important. She was a healer, respected by everyone in her community. Her people were known across the galaxy for their knowledge of medicine and their ability to fix almost any injury. But that life felt like a dream now. 3 months ago, Zeta had made a choice that changed everything. She had fallen in love with someone her people said she couldn't love on her world. There were strict rules about who could be with whom. Scientists could only marry other scientists. Workers could only marry other workers. It had always been that way. But love doesn't follow rules. When Zeta refused to give up her partner, her own family turned against her. They said she was broken, that something was wrong with her mind. They wanted to fix her thoughts, to make her forget her feelings. Instead, she chose to leave everything behind. Earth was supposed to be different. The stories said it was a place where anyone could start over, where love was free. But when Zeta arrived, she found out the stories were wrong. The immigration office rejected her application because of a simple mistake in her paperwork. Without the right documents, she couldn't work, couldn't get help, couldn't even see a doctor when she got sick. For 3 months, she had been living on the streets. She slept in doorways and under bridges. She ate food from garbage bins when she could find it. Most humans just walked past her like she wasn't there. Some threw coins at her feet without even looking at her face. A few had been cruel, calling her names or telling her to go back where she came from. Now, as the rain soaked through her thin clothes, Zeta felt like giving up. She was so thirsty that her throat burned. Her people needed more water than humans did, and she hadn't had a proper drink in days. When she saw the tired doctor walking toward her, she knew she had to try one more time. Maybe this human would be different. Maybe he would show her a small kindness. "Excuse me, sir," she whispered, holding up her empty cup. Her voice was rough from thirst, and she struggled with the human words. "Please, just a small drink of water. I am very thirsty." Alex stopped walking. He had seen homeless beings before, both human and alien. Usually, he dropped a few coins and kept moving. He was always tired after work, always eager to get home. But something about this woman made him pause. She wasn't demanding or aggressive like some people on the streets. She wasn't telling a long story about bad luck or asking for money for food. She was simply asking for water, the most basic thing any living being needs. Alex looked closer at her face. He had treated enough patients to recognize the signs of malnutrition. Her cheeks were sunken. Her eyes looked too big for her face, and her clothes hung loose on her thin frame. This wasn't just about thirst. This woman was starving. "When did you last eat something?" Alex asked gently. He crouched down so they could talk at the same level, the way he did with scared patients in the hospital. Zeta was confused by the question. She had asked for water, not food. On her world, sharing food was something you only did with family. But sharing water was normal. something any stranger might do for another. Just water, please. She said again, holding up her cup with both hands, only water. But Alex's medical training told him that water alone wouldn't help her. He could see that she needed nutrition more than hydration. Her body was eating itself to stay alive. There's a small restaurant round the corner that stays open all night, Alex said. Would you let me buy you some food? Zeta stared at him in shock. In 3 months on Earth, no human had ever offered her a meal. Most wouldn't even make eye contact with her. Why was this stranger being kind to her? Her first thought was that it might be a trick. Maybe he wanted something from her. Maybe he would hurt her once they were alone. But then her stomach made a loud growling sound that she couldn't hide. Alex smiled at her, and for the first time since leaving her home world, Zeta saw genuine warmth in a human's face. Come on, Alex said, standing up and extending his hand. Just some soup and bread. Nothing fancy. You can leave any time you want. Zeta looked at his outstretched hand for a long moment. She had been alone for so long that she had almost forgotten what kindness looked like. Slowly, she reached out and took his hand. His skin was warm, and his grip was gentle but steady. As they walked together through the rain toward the restaurant, Zeta clutched her small bag of belongings close to her chest. She didn't know if she could trust this human doctor, but she was too hungry and tired to keep refusing help. Behind them, the empty street stretched into darkness, but ahead, the warm lights of the all-night diner promised something Zeta hadn't felt in months: hope. The rain continued to fall, but for the first time in a long time, Zeta didn't feel completely alone in the world. The bell above the diner door chimed as Alex pushed it open. The warm air inside hit them immediately, carrying the smell of coffee and fried food. Zeta hesitated at the doorway, overwhelmed by the bright lights and the sounds of clinking dishes. The place was small, with red vinyl booths and a long counter where a few late-night customers sat drinking coffee. An older woman with gray hair tied back in a ponytail looked up from behind the counter. Her name tag read Betty, and her expression changed when she saw Zeta. Alex noticed the woman's reaction right away. He had seen it before when humans encountered aliens for the first time. Some people were curious, others were afraid, and a few were openly hostile. But Betty just looked uncertain, like she wasn't sure what to do. Table for two? Alex asked politely, keeping his voice calm and friendly. Betty nodded slowly and grabbed two menus from behind the counter. She led them to a booth in the back corner, away from the other customers. Alex could tell she was trying to be helpful, while also avoiding any potential problems. As they slid into the booth, Zeta kept her head down. She was very aware of the stares from the other people in the diner. Some were trying to be subtle about it, glancing over while pretending to read their newspapers. Others were more obvious, turning in their seats to get a better look. Don't worry about them, Alex said quietly. They're just curious. Most of them have probably never met someone from another world before. Zeta looked up at him with her large, purple eyes. They think I'm dangerous? No, Alex said, shaking his head. They just don't understand. Fear comes from not knowing something. But you're not scary at all. Betty approached their table with a coffee pot in one hand and a glass of water in the other. She set the water down in front of Zeta, who immediately grabbed it and drank half of it in one gulp. Thank you, Zeta whispered, her voice already sounding less hoarse. What can I get you folks to eat? Betty asked, looking mainly at Alex. Alex opened his menu, but Zeta just stared at hers like it was written in a foreign language, which, for her, it basically was. The pictures helped, but many of the food names meant nothing to her. What's safe for you to eat? Alex asked gently. Zeta looked confused. Safe? I mean, what foods from Earth can your people eat without getting sick? Most things, Zeta said carefully. We eat similar foods on my world, but some spices are too strong for us, and we cannot eat anything with, what do you call it, the red pepper that burns? Hot peppers, Alex said. Got it. How about some vegetable soup? That should be gentle on your stomach. Zeta nodded gratefully. Alex ordered the soup for her and a sandwich for himself, along with some bread and butter. When Betty walked away, An uncomfortable silence fell over their table. Alex wasn't sure what to say, and Zeta seemed lost in her own thoughts. The other customers had mostly gone back to their own conversations, but Zeta still felt their occasional glances. "How long have you been on Earth?" Alex finally asked. 3 months, Zeta replied, running her finger along the edge of her water glass. 3 months and 12 days. That's very specific. Zeta gave him a sad smile. When you have nothing else to do, you count the days. Alex felt a pang of guilt. While he was complaining about working long hours and being tired, this woman had been counting every single day of suffering on the streets. "Where are you from originally?" he asked. "A world very far from here. My people call it Kepler Prime. It is beautiful there. We have the suns, so the sky is always gold during the day. And at night, you can see 3 moons. Her voice got softer as she talked about home, and Alex could hear the pain in it. "Why did you leave?" Zeta was quiet for a long moment. Alex worried that he had asked something too personal. But then she started speaking again. "On my world, we have rules about everything. What job you can have, where you can live, who you can love. I was born into the healer class. My family expected me to marry another healer and have healer children." Betty arrived with their food, setting a steaming bowl of soup in front of Zeta and placing a basket of bread. In the center of the table, Zeta stared at the soup like she couldn't believe it was real. "But I fell in love with someone from the builder class," she continued after Betty left. "In my world, this is forbidden. They said I was sick in my mind. They wanted to change my thoughts, make me forget my feelings." Alex watched as Zeta carefully tasted the soup. She ate slowly, like she was afraid it might disappear if she went too fast. "So you chose to leave instead?" "I chose love over comfort," Zeta said simply. "But now I have neither. What happened to the person you loved?" Zeta's eyes filled with tears that shimmered like liquid silver. "They stayed behind. They said the journey to Earth was too dangerous." Maybe they were right. Alex felt his heart break a little. This woman had given up everything for love, only to end up alone and homeless on a strange world. "I'm sorry," he said. "That must be incredibly difficult." Zeta wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "You are the first human to say that to me. Most people just tell me to go back where I came from." "Well, most people are idiots," Alex said, which made Zeta laugh for the first time since he met her. The sound of her laughter was musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. A few customers looked over, but this time their expressions seemed more curious than fearful. "Tell me about your work," Zeta said, changing the subject. "You are a healer like me?" "I'm a doctor, yes. I work in the emergency room at the medical center. It's stressful, but I love helping people. On my world, I was also emergency healer. I could fix broken bones, heal cuts, even help with difficult births. But here, I cannot work without papers." Alex realized that Zeta wasn't just homeless and hungry, she was also professionally frustrated, unable to use her skills to help people or support herself. "What kind of healing techniques do your people use?" he asked. Zeta's eyes lit up. For the next 20 minutes, she explained concepts that Alex had never heard of. Her people had developed ways to speed up natural healing, to help bodies repair themselves from the inside out. Some of it sounded like science fiction to Alex, but Zeta spoke with such knowledge and passion that he found himself completely fascinated. By the time they finished eating, Alex realized that he had been wrong about something. He had thought he was helping a homeless alien who needed charity. But Zeta wasn't just someone who needed help. She was intelligent, skilled, and had knowledge that could potentially help thousands of people. When Betty brought the check, she also brought a small container of soup. For later, she said quietly to Zeta, "In case you get hungry again." Zeta looked surprised by the kindness. "Thank you very much," as they prepared to leave. Alex realized he didn't want their conversation to end, but he also didn't want to pressure Zeta or make her feel like she owed him something. "Would it be okay if I checked on you tomorrow?" he asked. "Maybe brought you some medical supplies? I notice you have some cuts that should be cleaned properly." Zeta studied his face carefully, as if trying to decide whether she could trust him. Why do you want to help me? She asked. Alex thought about it for a moment. Because everyone deserves kindness, and because I think you have a lot to offer this world. If someone gives you the chance, for the first time since leaving her home planet, Zeta felt a spark of hope. Yes, she said softly. I will like that very much. The next evening, Alex found Zeta in the same spot where he had first seen her. She was sitting under a small overhang that barely protected her from the rain. When she saw him approaching with a medical bag in his hand, her face brightened with something he hadn't seen before. Genuine happiness. You came back, she said, sounding surprised. I told you I would, Alex replied, sitting down beside her on the cold concrete. How are you feeling today? Better, thank you. The soup from yesterday helped very much. Alex opened his medical bag and pulled out some clean bandages, antiseptic, and a small flashlight. May I look at those cuts on your hands? Zeta hesitated for a moment, then extended her hands toward him. Her skin was pale and cold, and Alex could see several small wounds that were beginning to get infected. This might sting a little, he warned before gently cleaning the cuts. As he worked, Zeta watched his face carefully. His movements were precise and gentle, just like the healers on her own world. But there was something different about human medicine that she was still trying to understand. Your healing methods are very direct, she observed. On my world, we focus more on helping the body heal itself. What do you mean? Alex asked, wrapping a clean bandage around her palm. We believe that every living thing has energy inside it. When someone is hurt or sick, we help guide that energy to the injured place. The body does most of the work. We just show it the way. Alex paused in his bandaging. That sounds like what we call the placebo effect, or maybe acupuncture. Some doctors here are starting to study energy healing too. Zeta's eyes lit up with interest. Really? Your people are learning this? Some of us are. Medicine is always changing, always growing. We learn new things from other cultures all the time. As Alex finished treating her wounds, Zeta began to relax. She started telling him more about her world and her people. The Keplerians, as they call themselves, had been studying healing for thousands of years. They had learned to work with the natural rhythms of the body instead of fighting against them. We have a saying on my world, Zeta said. The best healer is the one who teaches the body to heal itself. That's beautiful, Alex said, and it makes sense. Sometimes I think we humans try too hard to fix everything with machines and chemicals. Both ways have value, Zeta said diplomatically. Your surgery techniques are amazing. You can fix things that we cannot, but maybe together, both approaches could help even more people. Alex found himself nodding. The more he learned about Keplerian healing, the more he realized how much human medicine could benefit from their knowledge. Can you show me? He asked. Is it something you can teach? Zeta looked surprised. You want to learn from me? Of course. You're clearly an expert in your field. Why wouldn't I want to learn? For a moment, Zeta just stared at him. On her own world, knowledge was closely guarded within each class. Healers only taught other healers. Builders only taught other builders. The idea that someone would want to learn from a person of a different species was completely foreign to her. I would be honored to teach you, she said finally. They spent the next hour sitting on the cold ground, while Zeta demonstrated basic energy healing techniques. She taught Alex how to feel for the natural rhythm of a person's pulse, how to sense areas of tension or pain, and how to use gentle pressure and breathing to help the body relax. Close your eyes, Zeta instructed. Put your hands on my shoulders very lightly. Don't try to fix anything. Just listen. Alex did as she said. At first, he felt nothing except the warmth of her skin through her thin shirt. But gradually, he began to sense something else, a kind of gentle vibration, like a very quiet hum. Do you feel it? Zeta asked softly. I think so. It's like electricity, but much gentler. That is life energy. Every living thing has it. When someone is sick or hurt, the energy gets blocked or moves in the wrong direction. Our job is to help it flow smoothly again. Alex opened his eyes, fascinated. This is incredible. How long does it take to learn properly? Many years, Zeta admitted. But the basic principles are simple. The most important thing is to care deeply about helping the person, without genuine compassion. The techniques don't work as they talked. Alex began to understand that Zeta's knowledge went far beyond simple healing. She understood psychology, nutrition, and even what humans would call physical therapy. Her people had developed a complete system of healthcare that treated the whole person, not just individual symptoms. You know, Alex said thoughtfully, there are doctors here who would love to learn from you. People who study alternative medicine, who believe in treating patients as whole human beings instead of just treating diseases. Zeta shook her head. Sadly, but I cannot work without proper papers. And I cannot get papers because of the mistake in my application. What kind of mistake? Alex asked. They spelled my planet's name wrong in the computer system. Now the system says my homeworld doesn't exist, so my asylum request was denied automatically. Alex felt a surge of anger, a simple spelling error had condemned this brilliant woman to homelessness and poverty. It was exactly the kind of bureaucratic nonsense that made him furious about the immigration system. That's ridiculous, he said. There has to be a way to fix that. I have tried. Zeta said with a sigh, but I don't understand your legal system. And I cannot afford a lawyer. Alex was quiet for a moment, thinking. He didn't know much about immigration law either, but he knew people who did. His colleague Dr. Chen had mentioned working with a legal aid organization that helped alien refugees. What if I helped you find someone who knows about these things? He asked. Someone who could look at your case for free. Zeta looked at him with those large purple eyes, and Alex could see the hope and fear warring in her expression. You would do that for me, even though we just met, Zeta? You've already taught me more about healing in one evening than I learned in some of my medical school classes. You're not just someone who needs help, you're someone who has something valuable to offer. It's wrong that you're stuck on the streets because of a clerical error. Tears began to slide down Zeta's cheeks, but these were different from the tears of sadness he had seen before. These looked almost happy. On my world, she said softly. We have another saying. True friendship begins when someone sees your worth. Before you prove it, Alex smiled. Well, your worth is pretty obvious to me. As the evening grew later and colder, Alex reluctantly prepared to leave. But before he went, he had an idea. It's supposed to rain again tomorrow night, he said. And it's getting colder. I have a couch in my apartment that no one is using. Would you consider staying there? Just until we can figure out something better. Zeta's eyes widened in shock. You would trust me in your home. I trust you, Alex said simply. Besides, it would give us more time to work on those healing techniques. I'm really interested in learning more. For the first time since leaving her home planet, Zeta felt like someone actually wanted her around, not just because they pitied her, but because they valued what she had to offer. Yes, she said quietly. I would like that very much. As they walked together toward Alex's apartment, both of them felt something had changed between them. They were no longer just a doctor helping a homeless alien. They were two healers from different worlds, learning from each other and building something new together. The rain started falling again, but this time, Zeta wasn't walking through it alone. 3 weeks had passed since Zeta moved into Alex's small apartment. What started as a temporary arrangement was slowly becoming something neither of them had expected. The spare room that Alex had offered her was now filled with small touches. That made it feel like home. A blanket she had found at a thrift store, some books about Earth that Alex had bought for her, and a small plant by the window that reminded her of the ones from her world. Every morning, Alex would leave for work at the hospital, and Zeta would spend her days reading about human culture and practicing her English. She had gotten much better at speaking, though she still struggled with some of the more complicated words. In the evenings, when Alex came home tired from his long shifts, they would sit together and share stories about their different worlds. Alex had learned so much from Zeta that he had started using some of her techniques with his patients. The gentle energy work she taught him helped people relax before surgery, and her breathing exercises seemed to reduce pain better than some medications. His colleagues had begun to notice the improvement in his patient care, though Alex hadn't told anyone about his unusual teacher. One evening, Alex came home looking more exhausted than usual. His shoulders were tense, and he had dark circles under his eyes. Zeta could see the stress written all over his face. "Bad day?" she asked gently as he collapsed into his favorite chair. "The worst." Alex replied, rubbing his temples. "We lost 3 patients today. One was just a kid, maybe 16 years old. Car accident. I did everything I could," but his voice trailed off, and Zeta could see the pain in his eyes. She had felt the same helplessness many times on her own world. When patients couldn't be saved, "May I help?" she asked softly. Alex looked up at her, confused. "Help how? You are carrying too much stress in your body. It will make you sick if you don't release it. Please, let me show you." Alex was too tired to argue. Zeta guided him to sit on the floor and positioned herself behind him. She placed her hands gently on his shoulders and began to work, using the same energy techniques she had been teaching him. "Close your eyes," she whispered. "Just breathe and let your mind rest." As Zeta's hands moved over his shoulders and neck, Alex felt the tension slowly melting away. It was different from a regular massage, deeper somehow, like she was working on parts of him that he didn't even know were tense. "Better?" she asked after about 20 minutes. Alex opened his eyes and realized that the crushing weight he had been carrying all day was gone. He felt lighter, more peaceful than he had in months. "That was amazing," he said, turning to face her. "How did you do that?" "Grief and stress create blocks in the energy flow," Zeta explained. "When you carry too much pain, it gets stuck in your body. I just helped it move again." Alex stared at her with new understanding. "You know, you're not just teaching me healing techniques. You're actually healing me." Zeta smiled softly. "Healers need healing too. Who takes care of you when you are tired and sad?" It was a simple question, but it hit Alex harder than he expected. The truth was, no one took care of him. He had been so focused on his career that he had never really formed close friendships. His family lived far away, and his job left little time for relationships. Usually, no one, he admitted. "That is not good," Zeta said with concern. "On my world, we say that a healer who doesn't receive care will eventually have nothing left to give." Over the following days, the routine began to change. Zeta started paying attention to Alex's needs the same way he had been caring for her. She learned to cook simple human foods that would give him energy for his long shifts. She made sure he ate breakfast before work and had healthy snacks waiting when he came home. When Alex caught a nasty flu that was going round the hospital, Zeta insisted on taking care of him. She made special teas using herbs she had learned to identify in the city parks, and she used traditional Keplerian healing methods to help his body fight the infection. "You don't have to do this," Alex protested weakly from his bed. "You should stay away so you don't get sick too. Keplerian immune systems are different," Zeta said, placing a cool cloth on his forehead. "I cannot catch your human illnesses. And even if I could, friends take care of each other." The word friends hung in the air between them. They had been living together for weeks, but neither had really defined what their relationship was. Alex had started as someone trying to help a homeless person, and Zeta had been someone desperately in need of assistance. But somewhere along the way, they had become something more. "Is that what we are?" Alex asked quietly. "Friends?" Zeta sat down on the edge of his bed, her expression thoughtful. "On my world, friendship is very different from here. We don't make friends easily. But when we do, it is for life. We become like family." "What makes someone worthy of that kind of friendship?" "Trust," Zeta said immediately, "and genuine care for each other's well-being. Someone who sees your true self and accepts it." Alex thought about this as Zeta continued to care for him over the next few days. She never complained about the extra work, never made him feel like a burden. When he was too weak to shower, she helped him without making it awkward. When he couldn't keep food down, she patiently tried different remedies until she found something that worked. But it wasn't just physical care. Zeta seemed to understand exactly what he needed emotionally too. When he felt frustrated about Being sick, she listened without trying to fix his feelings. When he worried about missing work, she reminded him that his patients needed him healthy, not exhausted. On the fourth day of his illness, Alex woke up feeling almost normal again. The fever was gone, his energy was returning, and he could think clearly for the first time all week. "You saved my life," he told Zeta over breakfast. "I've never recovered from flu that quickly. Your body did the work," she replied modestly. "I just helped it along." "No, it was more than that," Alex insisted. "You took better care of me than anyone ever has. I don't know how to thank you." Zeta looked down at her hands, suddenly shy. "You gave me a home when I had nothing. You treated me like a person with value instead of just a problem to solve. Taking care of you when you needed it, that felt good. It felt like I was useful again." Alex realized something important in that moment. They weren't just helping each other anymore. They were building something together, a kind of partnership, where each person's strengths supported the other's weaknesses. "Zeta," he said carefully, "what I said about this being temporary, I don't want you to feel like you have to leave. Ever. This is your home now, if you want it to be." Tears gathered in Zeta's purple eyes. "You mean that?" "I mean it. I've learned more about being a good doctor and a good person in the past month than I learned in years before. My life is better with you in it." That evening, they sat together on Alex's couch, drinking the herbal tea that Zeta had made. Outside, the city hummed with its usual noise, but inside the apartment, everything felt peaceful and right. "I have been thinking," Zeta said slowly, "about my partner back home, the one I left behind." Alex felt his stomach drop a little. He had been trying not to think about Zeta's lost love, but he knew that pain was still there. "What about them? I think they were right to stay." This journey was too hard for someone who wasn't completely sure. "But now, maybe, when I get my papers fixed, I could bring them here. If they still want to come." Alex smiled, though. Part of him felt strangely sad at the thought. That would be wonderful. They would love Earth, and they would love having you happy again. Zeta reached over and squeezed his hand. "You gave me back my hope, Alex. Whatever happens, I will never forget that." As they sat there holding hands, both of them understood that their friendship had become something precious and permanent. They were no longer just two lonely people who had found each other by accident. They were family now, in the truest sense of the word. 2 months had passed since that evening when Alex promised Zeta a permanent home. During that time, their lives had settled into a comfortable rhythm that felt natural to both of them. But the biggest change came when Alex finally contacted his colleague Dr. Chen about Zeta's immigration problems. Dr. Chen had given Alex the contact information for a lawyer named Rita Gonzalez, who specialized in helping alien refugees navigate Earth's complicated legal system. When Rita first met Zeta, she was shocked by how simple the problem actually was. "This is just a database error," Rita explained during their first meeting at her small downtown office. "Someone typed Kepler Prime instead of Kepler 440b when they entered your planet's information. The system doesn't recognize the shorter name, so it flagged your application as fraudulent." Zeta felt a mixture of relief and frustration. "That's all. A simple typing mistake has kept me homeless for months. Unfortunately." "Yes," Rita said, with a sympathetic smile. "But the good news is that this kind of error is relatively easy to fix. We just need to submit the correct paperwork with documentation of your planet's official name." Alex squeezed Zeta's hand. "How long will it take?" "With the right documentation, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, Rita replied. "I'll need character references, evidence that you have a place to live, and proof that you can support yourself or have someone willing to help you." "I can provide all of that," Alex said immediately. Over the next several weeks, Alex and Zeta worked together to gather everything Rita needed. Alex wrote a detailed letter describing Zeta's character and her potential contributions to Earth's medical community. He also provided documentation showing that she was living in his apartment and that he was financially responsible for her care. But the most important piece came from an unexpected source. Betty, the waitress from the all-night diner, had gotten to know Zeta over the past few months. Zeta had started stopping by the diner occasionally, and Betty had been teaching her about American culture and helping her practice her English. "I want to write a letter for your case," Betty told Zeta one afternoon. "I've seen how you treat people, how gentle and kind you are. That should count for something." Zeta was deeply moved by Betty's offer. "You would do that for me, honey. You've brightened up this old diner just by being yourself," Betty said with a warm smile. "Besides, I've lived in this city for 40 years, and I know good people when I see them." During the waiting period, Zeta had been volunteering at a free clinic downtown. She couldn't officially practice medicine without proper credentials, but she could help with basic patient care and comfort. The clinic's director, Dr. Williams, was amazed by Zeta's gentle bedside manner and her ability to calm even the most anxious patients. "She has a gift," Dr. Williams told Alex one day when he stopped by to pick up Zeta after her volunteer shift. "I've never seen anything like it. Patients who come in angry or scared become peaceful just from talking to her. She taught me some of her techniques," Alex replied. "Her people have been studying healing for thousands of years. We could learn a lot from them." Dr. Williams nodded thoughtfully. "When she gets her work authorization, I'd love to offer her a position here. We need people who understand that healing is about more than just medicine." Alex was thrilled by the offer, but he waited to tell Zeta until they had good news about her case. He didn't want to get her hopes up in case something went wrong with the legal process. The call finally came on a Tuesday morning while Alex was at work. Rita phoned to tell them that Zeta's asylum application had been approved and that her work authorization would arrive within the week. Alex practically ran home from the hospital to share the news. He found Zeta in the kitchen, making the herbal tea that had become their evening tradition. "Zeta," he said, trying to catch his breath. Rita called. "Your asylum was approved." For a moment, Zeta just stared at him, as if she couldn't process what he had said. Then her face broke into the biggest smile he had ever seen, and tears began streaming down her cheeks. "Really?" she whispered. "I can stay. You can stay." Alex confirmed, pulling her into a hug. "You're officially a legal resident of Earth." They spent that evening celebrating with takeout food from Zeta's favorite restaurant, and the good news that Dr. Williams wanted to offer her a job. But the best part for both of them was the knowledge that Zeta's future was finally secure. "I have something to tell you," Zeta said as they sat on the couch later that night. "I received a message from my partner on Kepler 442b. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. "Oh, what did they say?" "They want to apply to come to Earth too," Zeta said, her voice soft with emotion. "They said that watching me succeed here gave them courage to take the risk." Alex smiled. Though he felt a complex mix of emotions, he was happy for Zeta, but he also worried about how their living situation would change over the past few months. He had grown used to having her as his roommate and closest friend. "That's wonderful news," he said, meaning it despite his concerns. "Alex," Zeta said, turning to face him directly, "I want you to know that having my partner here won't change our friendship. You saved my life, and you gave me a home when I had nothing. You will always be family to me, and you'll always be family to me too," Alex replied. "This apartment will always be your home, no matter who else lives here." A few weeks later, on Zeta's first official day of work at the free clinic, Alex walked her to the building just like he had walked her to the diner on that first night. But this time, instead of being a homeless alien begging for water, Zeta was a confident professional ready to start her new career. "Nervous?" Alex asked as they stood outside the clinic's entrance. "A little," Zeta admitted, "but mostly excited. I finally get to be a healer again." "You never stop being a healer," Alex said. "You healed me long before you had any official job." Zeta smiled and gave him a quick hug. "Thank you, Alex, for everything." As Alex watched her walk into the clinic, he thought about how much both their lives had changed since that rainy night, when he had decided to buy a homeless alien woman some food instead of just giving her water. That simple act of kindness had grown into something neither of them could have imagined. That evening, Alex came home to find Zeta cooking dinner and humming a song from her homeworld. The apartment smelled like the spices she had taught him to love, and there were fresh flowers on the table, a small celebration of her first day at work. "How did it go?" Alex asked. "Perfect," Zeta said, her eyes shining with happiness. "I helped 12 patients today. One woman said I made her feel better just by holding her hand while the doctor examined her." "That's the Zeta magic," Alex said with a grin as they sat down to eat together. Alex realized that this was what home really meant. It wasn't about the apartment or the furniture or even the city. Home was having someone who cared about your day, who celebrated your victories and supported you through your struggles. 6 months earlier, he had been a lonely doctor going through the motions of life. Now, he was part of something bigger, a chosen family that had started with a simple question: when did you last eat something? Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. Sometimes a stranger becomes family, and sometimes helping someone else is really the best way to help yourself. Outside their window, the city continued its endless rhythm of life, but inside their apartment, two beings from different worlds had found exactly what they had both been searching for without even knowing it, a place where they belonged.